All right, Mark, so we're going to do one setup change, and I would like to see a couple in-swing changes. We'll talk about that in a second, but in regard to the setup, a little bit narrow stance, so not the best for rotating, swinging an arm, or swinging your arms in a club around your body. We need a little bit better balance. Outside of your feet are going to be a little bit on the outsides of your shoulders. Again, if we're swinging something that, weighs something, we're swinging at high speeds, we need to have some pretty good balance. So I think that could be a part of why we don't swing nearly as long as we could. So outside of your feet, a little bit on the outside of your shoulders, that'll give you a better base. Now, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you want to get rid of the toe shots, the shots that curve to the right, and a lot of that has to do with first the rotation, but I think the lack of rotation has something to do with your stance. So opening your feet up a little bit, flaring your feet even is okay. I don't want you to flare them like this, but they shouldn't be straight up and down. So a little flare, allow for some more rotation in your body. Now, I would say the underlying requirement for what I'm about to ask you to do is rotation. You have to turn to do this. So we can't just turn halfway, and I'm not saying that you turn halfway. I just want you to understand that it's going to be easiest to do what I'm going to ask you to do with some rotation. Now, what tends to happen for you, I just want to explain the why. So you're getting these toe shots, the club is moving very much to the left through impact. You'll start to take the club back pretty nicely. You're going to stop turning and fold your arms. When you fold your arms, that's when this pitch of the club gets very vertical or steep, you often hear. And then when you swing down, when you start rotating, your arms work out, everything works out. You have to pull the club back in to hit the ball. Now, I'm not so worried about your downswing because I think your downswing is a byproduct of where you're at the top of your backswing. So, what I would want you to do, again, the underlying requirement here is rotation. I need you to keep your arms as straight as possible, and they need to keep working around you, okay? Now, what I would, we'll get there in a second. So when you swing back, make sure there's a lot of rotation. Your arms are going to be as straight as possible, and they're going to continue to work around you as you rotate. Now, a nice piece to add to this would be some hinging of your wrists. So you'll see on the front view, you'll start taking it back, and your mechanism to get the club to travel is bending your arms rather than hinging your wrists. So if I start to rotate, I'm going to keep my arms as straight as possible, and I'm going to hinge my wrist. That's getting the club to travel. And then your arms being straight as you rotate, that's going to get your club in a very advantageous position. Okay, so the first thing is your stance. Set up a little bit wider, flare the feet a little bit. Okay, the underlying requirement for the swing changes I'm asking you to make is turning. When you turn, you are keeping your arms as straight as possible, and they are working around you. That's the first piece. And then the last piece that would be a nice addition, we don't have to do it now. It can be added on later. But that last piece would just be hinging of the wrist earlier in the backswing as your arms are straight, okay? So the setup change and the turning with your arms straight and around your body would be the priorities. If you practice that over the next 2 weeks, get really good at that, then we can move on to the hinging of your wrists.